We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello everyone and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast here on the We Made This podcast network. My name is Kurt North and welcome along to our continuing coverage of Series 7 of Red Dwarf. Joining me is my co-host, Mr. Mark Adams. To pee or not to pee? That is the question mark. Because you've been for a pee.
I have.
So how was it?
As hobbies go, weeing is one of the worst hobbies I've ever heard.
Nuri. Retut.
Hanunga.
Squiluco.
Squiluncle.
Joining us is, for the second week in a row, Mr. Colin Jackson-Brown. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Is anyone else hotter than hell?
Bit warm.
It's not 92 degrees like it was the other Tuesday when we recorded. Well, the other Tuesday when I was ill.
Well, the hottest day ever in Britain was fucking hotter than that Red Dwarf thing.
Yeah.
That's so 92 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll save this for in a minute.
Well, we will talk about this episode called Duct Soup. It was Series 7, Episode 4, directed by Ed Bye, written by Doug Naylor, and aired on the 7th of February 1997, 2 days before my 17th birthday. Duct Soup sees Kachansky getting to know the crew in the ductwork above Red Dwarf.
Starbug, sorry, I apologise. Starbug. I did that before as well. I was watching it thinking, you know, it's just, it's so massive. It's so massive now. It's because it's absolutely enormous. It's Red Dwarf sized.
You know, those clashing universes. Yeah, so Duct Soup. So what are our general thoughts on Duct Soup then? And, you know, we've had mixed reviews over the last 2 episodes, so is this getting any better? Is it an episode that you really like to watch?
It's another one where there are some bits in it that are absolutely brilliant and a lot of bits that aren't. But I still quite like it. But I think this one's got more 90s ick in it than the previous one.
Okay, we will find out what that is.
Yes.
In very shortly. So let's talk about it then. Starts off with, again, the third time in a row I think this is, without the credits, because it overran by 3 minutes apparently. And that's part of the reason why the show doesn't have the credits in them in previous episodes. Which is interesting with the whole Series 7 extended kind of thing. We've not really talked about it. We've said we're not really talking about the extended element of it, like, you know, in too much detail. But the fact that we've got these extended things, Mark, you know, we've got episodes that are overrunning. We've got episodes that have extended moments in them that they've added to it. It seems to be a new kind of like idea since Rob Grant left. So I don't know if that has a correlation or whether or not it's just the
Rob
new
was
style
the editor.
or the editor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is intriguing that, you know, as I say, well, talking about before, like 4 years since 6. And, you know, they are going down a different route with this. But it is an interesting thing that these extended moments and overrunning, it becomes apparent in this series.
So again, we talked about how, in the last episode, we talked about how I thought that they all had an extended version, which they don't. I also thought that all the extended versions were 45 minutes and they were deliberately designed to have a television and a DVD version. I was completely wrong, and I don't know where I got that from. This particular extended version only has about 3 or 4 minutes extra compared to 10 minutes extra on Ticket to Ride, for example.
What's interesting with, I know I mentioned like a little bit of a more, what's the word? I kind of like suggested I need to talk about this, is that over the last 6 months, 7 months, because I'm lazy and I've got these on DVD and things, but I've only got a single Blu-ray player currently in the house. So I've got all these DVDs behind me and I can't play any of them because I've only got a computer with no DVD player. So I've actually bought one. Playing DVDs is fine on my little Blu-ray player. My Blu-ray player is fine. But when you put a Blu-ray disc in, I haven't got a program that runs it. And it's really difficult to get a Blu-ray player program.
fuck's sake.
I know, it's awful. It's awful. I need to get a Blu-ray. I've got a Blu-ray player somewhere, I just haven't got it connected.
Just get a PlayStation 4.
No, don't do Sony.
Annoyingly, PlayStation 4 can't play DVDs though.
Can it not?
No, my PlayStation 4 I can watch Blu-rays on, but I've got my PlayStation 2 set up for DVDs.
I could have sworn I've played DVDs on my I have played DVDs on my PlayStation 4. My Crime Traveller is a DVD.
Some of the older PlayStation 4s may have been able to, but they definitely the one I've got now definitely doesn't, and the one that I had before that died a few months ago definitely couldn't play DVDs.
Well, my Xbox Series S definitely can't play them because there's no drive on it.
Yeah.
And the Xbox Series X just wasn't available. You can't get hold of it for love of the money. So that's part of the reason, because I had an Xbox One, which I use all my DVDs and Blu-rays on, and I've got rid of that, and it's still around, but it's not in the place I'd watch DVDs in. But anyway, I kind of digress a little bit. Yeah, I think what we were talking about. So they led into the extended versions and the way that they've kind of like sort of have this kind of element of these extra minutes. It fascinates me that they've done it, or they do it now. It's strange that you've got extended versions, no audience versions, like soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it becomes a bit like life imitating art. It becomes a bit of a Blade Runner. And the reason why I'm bringing this to the fore is because I didn't have any DVDs. I thought, right, okay, well, they're on UK TV. So, when they went off Netflix, you can watch them on UK TV. The resolution is absolutely atrocious. They stretch it out. So it's like any 4:3 is now 16:9. It looks bad. And this episode in particular doesn't have some key moments in it. It doesn't have Crichton's little dream sequence with Chloe and Annette, where Lister and Kachansky are, sort of having the girls round for dinner. It doesn't have the Squirrelookuls bit, so it doesn't have any of that at all. Yeah,
what?
Not at all.
Squirrelookull
Has none of that. None of the Narik stuff. The first time you see Kachansky is when she's going down, and Crichton says, "Oh, it's Princess Leia." That's the first time you see her.
Which is the whole point of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking hell.
To the bit in Duct Soup later on where he starts talking about having girls on the beginning of dinner and clogs. It doesn't make any sense.
To be fair, that clog bit doesn't make any sense anyway, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we will. But it doesn't make any sense that the fact that he's saying about girls coming to dinner, and the edit is horrible because you see it go towards his eye at the beginning of the episode and nothing happens. It just goes to another scene. It's just like, what are you doing, UK TV? I don't understand.
Why have they done that?
I have no idea. I've got absolutely no idea. I can't, for the life of me, work out why they've cut.
But that's another new version then.
I know.
Fucking hell.
It's UK TV's
I
version.
wonder if it's so the episode overran. I wonder if
It's a 29. I was thinking this because you mentioned this about being on Amazon Prime, Colin. It's 29 minutes. I think it's 23 minutes because they needed to get rid of it for adverts.
For adverts, yeah. That's what it is. So they've
That's
cut key
wretched.
scenes so that they can fit adverts in.
Not good.
No.
Fuck this
But
world.
it's on Amazon now, so you can give Jeff Bezos more money that he doesn't need to watch it.
I mean, I'm actually going to stick with the Blu-rays because I bought the Blu-rays when it went off Netflix, and I've enjoyed the experience more because I just have. The picture quality is good, etc., etc., etc. So I'm going to stick with the Blu-rays, I think.
Okay.
Fair dues. Let's talk a little bit about the episode then.
Right, can we talk about the first thing that we see is a gratuitous Craig Charles nipple?
Do we?
I mean, we are greeted by Craig Charles's nipple. It is definitely the focus of the camera is Craig Charles's slightly erect nipple.
Was it enjoyable?
Well, I remember as a kid being, why the fuck are they focusing on his erect nipple? Well, not a kid, an 18-year-old. I was probably thinking about his. But right, I'm not out of my fucking mind. It doesn't focus on his face. It focuses on his right pec and the nipple. It is a gratuitous, unnecessary Craig Charles nip.
Shame we're not doing trailers like that for the previously anymore. Otherwise, that'd be it.
Yeah. Forget Matt's little blue song. We would just put that in as a trailer. It'd be fine. It'd be all right.
Mark's nipple rant.
Right. Am I talking out my arse, or is it a gratuitous Craig Charles nip?
I mean, I definitely noticed it. I don't think I just gave it that much thought.
See?
But
You're fucking het and you noticed his nip?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I noticed your nip last recording, Mark. I noticed your nips last week's on the 2
I
weeks
did
ago.
have my nips out.
You had your nips
It
out.
was
Carl had his
warm.
nips out. You know, it was only me. I was fully
I
clothed.
did warn you I got my nips out.
People love our behind the scenes.
Nips.
It was all nips out.
Oh, aye.
Nips out.
Did you take a photograph of us with our nips out?
No, but I did record the video
Good.
call, didn't I? So I've got the video somewhere.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
shit.
That'll be on the
Don't
Shipwrecked
post me with my
Comatose
nips out.
OnlyFans.
It's going on. It's going on the Al Drake YouTube channel after dark.
Don't put my nips on the internet.
You know, was it not on your bucket list?
So anyway, Kachansky turns up.
Okay, 92 degrees heat. We have surpassed that in recent times.
That's 92 degrees Fahrenheit is 33.3 degrees centigrade. It was 40 degrees in the UK the other week, which for some of our listeners from all over the world, that might not seem like much, but it fucking is for us.
Yes.
Well, that was why I had my nips out.
Yeah.
It's our houses are designed to keep heat in,
Yes.
and we don't have any air conditioning units. It's very humid.
No.
Even at 92. So you say it was 33. I think here in the cold north it was 36. So the fact that 35, 36 up here. So it was very hot. So we have the dilemma for Lister. Some rather plagiarized kind of Shakespeare going on. Well,
It's the worst joke in the series, is what it is.
It isn't funny, is it?
It's not. It's fucking. It's like CITV kids level pun.
It's the kind of thing you would crack on the playground the first time you heard Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would have heard that joke on the playground before I heard it on Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
What about the follow-up joke then about killing two birds with one stone?
That's all right.
Also not funny.
It's all right. The best bit about that next bit is the fact that Lister then opens the fridge and gets his pillow out, which is a fucking brilliant idea. And I'm so tempted to do it if there is space in our fridge next time it's that hot.
Okay, which will be in a few days. So yeah, it's going to be hot in a few days. So you'll have to report back in Series 8 how that went.
I might have to eat more things in the fridge first. Okay.
So what I really like in this episode for me, going to technicalities, is I kind of like the way that this episode is actually structured. I know we're talking about the editing of it, but I like the way it's structured because you've got Kachansky, which is the whole point of UK TV doing this, and it makes it horrific, that you've got the Kachansky scene next, and you've got Lister scene. So it's kind of like sort of, it plays with those two scenes. Later on, we get a scene with Kachansky and Lister in the ductwork, and then we get the Crichton and Kachansky stuff. And that's quite nicely kind of like sort of played as well, and obviously the switch over with the cat. So I do like the story writing in this episode. I actually think this is for me definitely the best episode since the first one, in my opinion. I do find it a fascinating watch. But if we go back to Kachansky and the Narik and Skrulikul bits, I remember when I first started to watch this episode back when I was coming up to 17. I would have been 16. 2 days' time, I would have been 17. I wasn't a massive fan of this. I've come to like it more as I've watched it. I don't know about yourselves, what you think about the Narik Skrulikul stuff.
It's stuck in my head. It's the bit of this series that I've probably remembered the best. That scene, I think. Yeah, the words Narik and Hanunga have stuck in my head, despite not obviously being used anywhere else. But they were still there after 25 years.
I think for me, it wasn't one of my favourites at the time, but having rewatched it, I really enjoyed it. And I also remembered Hanunga. And weirdly, it reminded me of Red Dwarf on a random episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when she had a throwing dagger called a Hunga Nunga.
Yeah.
And I was like, have they got... where,
Coincidence.
did they call it Hanunga? Yeah, it is a coincidence.
It's a coincidence.
The Hunga Nunga reminded me of Hanunga.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Squillucle. And it isn't quotable Red Dwarf because I've only started doing it very recently since rewatching this episode. But when I'm puzzled and I have no response, I will now go, Squillucle? as kind of...
Does somebody then hit you with a wrench?
No, but if I did it to you, you probably would.
If I had a wrench, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Squillucle, I like the fact that she says, oh, that's new.
Yeah.
It's like, it's in the wrong order. Hang on a second. What's going on? I've just got used to it the way it is. You know, it's like, don't throw new things at me. So I do like that.
The thing about Kachansky being there, for a show that, for better or worse, since she arrived, has basically become an immediate change of focus that is essentially a shitty battle of the sexes thing, you would think that that doesn't make sense in as much as if they're doing this kind of outdated battle of the sexes, they would have some chivalry and she wouldn't be in the shitty quarters. One of the blokes would be in the shitty quarters.
Yeah.
So not only are they incredibly sexist in the bad way, they're not even being sexist in the good way with her.
Yeah. Although, Cat's never going to give up his quarters. He's got too many suits.
True.
Lister, she probably wouldn't want to go in his because it probably smells.
Also true.
And Crichton isn't going to fucking swap. Well, does Crichton even have quarters? I don't think he does.
Does Rimmer have quarters?
Does Crichton sleep?
Yeah.
Why isn't she in Rimmer's quarters?
That is a fair point.
That would be interesting if in fact, if you were to rewrite that and Rimmer's quarters did have the Squillucle, that would still be it'd be more understandable, because it's like if they've only got the 4 quarters,
yeah,
in that ship, in that huge starbug, since the new realities melded together.
I don't think it's supposed to have added more rooms, is it? They're just expanded.
It's adding more space, yeah.
Yeah, they explained that the cargo hold has been expanded by 212%, but it looks a lot more than fucking 212%
Which is just the wind, which is just the wind tunnel. So,
yeah,
that would have made more sense, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't take it that far, Mark. If I was being honest, I think I wouldn't really view it in that perspective. But on what you're saying, it would have made more sense if it was Rimmer's quarters and Rimmer's quarters did that. You know, so maybe works a bit better. We also get the talking about pillows in fridges. We've got chilled trainers in fridges. Now, would you chill your own trainers? Why would you do that?
Your feet were too hot.
I mean, I don't do that, but I do put crisps in the fridge because I like cold crisps.
Crisps in the fridge?
That's fucking
beautiful.
I'm gonna do that.
Nah. Put your paprika max in the fridge, and they are the best cold.
I put chocolate in the fridge sometimes.
I put chocolate in the fridge.
I like chocolate in the fridge too. Yeah.
Sometimes.
We're gonna get so much hate mail. We're gonna get 1-star reviews.
Mars bars in the freezer. Put a Mars bar in the freezer, and it's all crunchy and chewy. That is proper nice.
Okay.
But no, I do put crisps in the fridge, but not trainers.
What about an onion sandwich?
Just an onion sandwich.
Try to suffocate yourself with that when you're stuck in that room.
Well, and again, going back to in that scene, going back to the fact that she puts the headphones on and missing all of that in UK TV, but then she comes down. I just love Crichton's line, the way he delivers it. It's obvious joke, but it's like, oh my god, oh goodness, it's Princess Leia. It's the way he delivers it. It's not that necessarily obviously the obvious joke. It's just the way he delivers it is amazing.
Yeah.
It's the pure hatred behind it that's...
There's a lot to ask, isn't there? Because there's like, what do you make of cottage cheese with pineapple chunks in?
Well, okay.
No, thank you.
I did some research on this because I thought that was something that my mum used to eat in the 90s, so I thought it was just a 90s thing.
Right.
Because... well, I've never fucking bought it because it's disgusting. So I did a bit of asking around with people I know to see if anybody still eats cottage cheese with pineapple chunks in. I know it's still available because I googled it and it came up on like Tesco and stuff like that. And yeah, my friend Lydia buys and eats cottage cheese with pineapple chunks in it, so it is still a thing. It's not
I like
something
cottage
want to
cheese.
Fucking partake in. It's disgusting.
No, I like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is the best thing you can put on a potato. But fuck cottage cheese with pineapple chunks in. Get in the sea. No.
What about plain cheese?
Cottage cheese with plain cheese in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
Anyway, yeah, you alluded to it before, so we start talking about things like shopping. Opera's already been mentioned. It's not quite in this episode, but there's stuff later on in the series that talk about the thing. She was learning to know what offside was.
That really annoyed me because it's so fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I know about the offside rule is I know it's something to do with football and girls are not supposed to know it and all blokes are supposed to know it, which is why I've deliberately never learned it because fuck the patriarchy.
Well, the European women's champions know all about offside. So
exactly.
You know,
there's loads of women who know what offside is. I haven't got a fucking clue. Anybody that thinks that is an indicator of whether somebody is male or female can fuck off.
100%.
There's a great thing that was posted recently on the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world where it said that England have 50 odd years of hurt. The women just got fed up and went and got it themselves.
Yeah.
Like, screw you, so I'll just go and get it. Which is great. So
bizarrely, you would think that a gay man wouldn't know the offside rule, but at school...
No, you wouldn't, because that's a fucking stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason why I do is because I was diabolical at football to the point where I was so embarrassed that I learned how to ref so I didn't have to kick the fucking thing. So I actually know the offside rule really well.
Is that what eventually led to you doing like wrestling sort of stuff? Eventually,
no, I got into wrestling because I really like wrestling.
Fair.
I think I actually think it's causal determination, personally.
Yes.
Predestination paradox is what that is.
This scene where they talk about like all the things that are masculine and feminine does have my quotable dwarf of the week. And whenever I think someone is privileged, I ask them if they ever had a pony called Trumper. Because anyone who has had a pony clearly has privilege. And, you know, you meet some posh fucker who's got an opinion that's utterly bizarre. And I'm like, did you ever have a pony called Trumper? And I realise I'm talking down to someone. But the thing about...
You right-wing fanatic.
The thing about being patronised is sometimes you deserve it.
He says in a condescending
I never patronise someone who doesn't fucking deserve it. And, you know, if you behave like a petulant child, expect to be treated like a petulant child.
The pony trumpet. So yeah, I think like the rich parents and stuff like that was, and I know this is for a later episode, and I'll probably talk about it more as we get into the series. And this is probably not for this episode, but as much as I like we said last episode about Kachansky being in it, these two episodes do it really well, and there's a little bit underlying here, but later on it gets a little bit frustrating with the way that they portray her character, and it gets a bit too much stereotypical boys, lads, girl kind of situation dynamic, and I'm not quite sure it really kind of works in that way. But that's for a future episode.
I think you're right that there is very much an element of man versus woman, but also I think they gently gave Kachansky the background that Rimmer wanted, and she's a much more likeable person than Rimmer, even though a more stereotypical depiction would be the lovable working class character and the unlikable upper class character. Whereas I think Kachansky's generally quite a likeable character, and I think there was probably a message in there about backgrounds not necessarily being as important as Rimmer emphasised.
Yeah. You've got the bit where she's talking about her background as well. She talks about growing up in the trendiest part of Glasgow, which is the Gorbals, which I don't know if... I think that's kind of lost these days, that the Gorbals historically was a really fucking rough area. It was like the Bronx of Glasgow, basically.
Like the Moss Side kind of thing.
that sort of thing.
Or Toxteth in Liverpool, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's the area that it was massively overpopulated at one point and a really sort of deprived area. But it's had a lot of regeneration and sort of, basically gentrification. And these days, while it's not the trendiest part of Glasgow still, it's a lot safer and a lot closer to that these days, as far as I understand. Having never been there, there's probably people listening in Scotland that think I'm talking utter bollocks. But from the bit of research that I did for 5 minutes the other day, it does seem like it is closer to what she was describing now, because there's new Gorbals and old Gorbals. I first knew about it from reading a biography about Alex Harvey from the sensational Alex Harvey Band, who are an awesome 70s sort of art rock band. But he grew up in the Gorbals, and it was a really sort of rough area in the 40s and 50s when that dude grew up.
Just continue on with Kochanska then. Let's just stay on that thread for a little bit. We often talk about concepts, don't we, on this podcast? We haven't done it for a while, but she talks about her perfect CGI teachers, her perfect CG friends. She went to cyber school. That kind of idea, and it portrays kind of a lonely upbringing, really. The fact that she surrounds herself by false people.
There are parallels with how my daughter was going to school the year before last.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of her reception year at school was done over Zoom, where she wasn't in the classroom with the other kids. There were other real kids there, but she didn't get to interact with them so much.
I mean, the portrayal, especially the fact that she says perfect CGI friends and perfect, teachers and things like that. It's just fascinating. That's fascinating for me. That her upbringing is that. It's kind of like it's almost like she's not having the ability to develop herself because, she's just living the ideal rather than actually living in the real world as such. And I thought that was. For Red Dwarf, I haven't really kind of cottoned on to much of that of late, and I just like that concept that they've used there, and it portrays quite a lonely figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then she starts crying.
And she just cries. Yeah, she does start crying. Yeah.
And Crichton tries to stop it by doing the Heimlich manoeuvre, which works. Which really amused me.
Yeah.
That was a good gag.
It's really hard to cry when someone's doing the Heimlich manoeuvre on you.
Well, you're not crying now,
That's
are you,
a fair
sir?
point.
No, shut up.
I wouldn't recommend that, though.
No. As someone who's a first aider, if you do the Heimlich manoeuvre correct, you have to go to hospital afterwards because you've probably done some internal damage.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Because you've got to go right into the sort of underneath the rib cage to actually portray that out. So...
And go, Hununga!
Yeah, and go Hununga. Because obviously you start with the slaps on the back and try and get it that way. And then once you start doing that, they need to be checking people out if they ever do that. So,
and that's the thing about first aid, isn't it? It's quite visceral compared to how it's depicted on the television.
Yeah, I mean, I've done CPR before, and I was really lucky that the way that it came about for me, because it was a woman who had cerebral palsy, but she was having a fit, and it was a repeating fit. So she was basically feeding herself, and she just kept repeating it, and so she kept feeding herself. So she was choking. She turned blue, and as I got up there, the carer was really, really concerned about her. The first responder got there, so the first responder was like sort of obviously being the one going, right, do you know CPR? Do you know this? Blah blah blah. Right, I just want you to start while I set up. So I was doing CPR for quite some time, and luckily, obviously, there's only so much training you do, and you do click into it. You do actually automatically go, right, I know what I'm doing. as I was doing it, for me, it was lucky because when you do CPR, the likelier it is you're going to break the rib at some point, and often it'll be the first couple of times.
That's what I was getting at when I said it was visceral.
Yeah.
But it didn't for the first, for a while, and when I heard it crack, I'd already been going through the motion for quite some time at that point. So it was like, right, well, he just went, just keep going. I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. But had it gone the first time, I think I would have been a bit more, ooh, you know what I mean? So it's it is horrible. And then to see, I mean, not to go into too much detail, but imagine the fact that she can't breathe because there's food inside her throat, that what they had to do was quite visceral as well.
Grim.
But yeah, so it's not good. But yeah, the Heimlich manoeuvre, if anyone does do it, people need to be checked out. That's our advisory for the day.
So only do it.
That wasn't the conversation I was expecting today, to be honest with you.
So only do the Heimlich manoeuvre as an absolute last resort to stop someone crying. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Don't make them cry in the first place.
Yeah.
She does mention about the G-string, and and you're doing Kat and Lister a disservice. And what are they doing?
Watching her underwear going round in the tumble dryer. Yes.
Yeah. Now my partner, we were watching this before I came on air, and she went, "Do you think that Kat saying it was really, really small was the fact it's already shrunk?" And I went, "Didn't think about that."
No. That is a fair point.
I hadn't thought that either. Amazing.
Bearing in mind when this was airing, 1997, and the fact it was talking about being mature, and then they say about reading a comic, that doesn't really land in the modern age now, does it? Really?
So I'm very mature and I read comics.
Are you really
I'm
mature,
well known
though?
for my maturity.
Well, for me, the word mature is not a synonym for not fucking creepy.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But I do actually like though the culmination of it in the fact they end up arguing, and they sit around and say well, what you're arguing about? We're arguing about being mature, and they're just scrabbling between them. I thought that was actually the culmination of that joke works.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then you've got the revelation that Kachansky's outfit has shrunk. Do you know why that happened?
Why the Kachansky outfit shrunk?
Yes.
For the lols?
No.
Good guess.
There was an actual real reason that they got rid of that outfit.
Go on.
It was too distracting for the rest of the cast and the crew.
Oh, what?
Oh, fuck no. Please tell me that's not true.
That's true. That's, I've seen from a couple of different sources, they got rid of the PVC outfit because it was too distracting for everybody else.
Fuck's sake.
So anyway, Kachansky shows up.
Mature is not a synonym for not fucking creepy.
That's the tagline for this week. So Crichton's nightmare. She does look really nice in a red dress, though. Yeah, I will say that. I will say she looks outstanding in that dress. But the very nature of it, sort of saying, having, I'll systematically lose all your friends when you've got together, and then they end up in couples with gelfs, which I thought the actual dream sequence was actually really good.
Yeah, the gelfs popped me.
Yeah, and the Crichton with the C, it's just it was so genius. It's we've even got your little keyring. It's okay.
So here's the thing about jealous Crichton. The thing that I probably shouldn't admit. I get that extreme when I'm fucking jealous. My head goes everywhere. All the possibilities. I can't switch it off. Jealousy is not a good look on me because I do go as crazy as Crichton. And it really, really resonated with me, that scene, the kind of ludicrous imaginations when you get jealous.
Catastrophizing.
I don't think it's totally, I don't think it's totally unrealistic. I think it's kind of on the ball.
Yeah, I can't really say because I don't really get jealous, so I don't have that.
Neither do I. To all potential suitors, I am a perfect partner.
Oh no, I'm emotionally stunted. That's my problem. The fourth law of systematically losing all your friends. It's stuff that people can relate to, and I think I thought it was really good. And it's not in the UK TV thing, so which I just don't get. But the clogs, Colin, you mentioned about the clogs before.
Yeah.
I don't quite get what that's about.
Lister says, I've, suddenly got the urge to go out and get some clogs.
Now, bear in mind, it's not Lister, it's Crichton's imagination of Lister.
Yeah, but...
It's a really obvious joke. What's not to get?
Why?
When you're in a relationship, you wear comfortable clothes. So that gag would probably...
Clogs are like wooden shoes. Are they comfortable?
Well, I assumed it was the same kind of gag as these
Crocs.
days if someone said they were going to buy some Crocs. Yeah, if someone was going to buy some Crocs because they don't care what they look like and they wear stuff for comfort.
Are clogs actually a thing that people... I thought they were just like a souvenir that people got from, like, Holland. Do people wear clogs? I've never seen anybody wearing wooden shoes. And they don't seem like that would be comfortable.
We know what we're getting Colin for Christmas.
I've never worn clogs, so I don't know if they're comfortable, but I assumed it was a comfort joke, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it sounded like a... what they were implying is growing up and being sensible, and that's a sensible thing to do, but I've never known anybody buy clogs. That's just weird.
I'm going to Google this.
Okay.
Are
clogs
comfortable? Okay, so you can get some plastic clogs that are nice, or like cloggy stuff. They're a shoe built specifically for your feet.
Right. Okay.
What? So like, are shoes not specifically built for feet though?
No, well, so what it's getting at is that like each set of clogs is made from scratch, isn't it? And it's made specifically for your specific foot. Yeah. Whereas if you buy a pair of Converse, there's been a million Converse that's not designed specifically for your feet. So I think it's a comfort gag, but I don't.
Yeah, okay. It didn't land with me at all because I was just like, what?
Yeah, it does like what? Yeah, I was like that. I'm a bit like what? I don't quite. That doesn't compute with me. Talking about the jealousies thing, then, because of the vision that he does have, Crichton then reacts, doesn't he? So the fact that he reacts and names and shames Lister is not a great trait to have.
Yeah.
No. Pettiness and... Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not. And also, I think Lister's motives are very, very questionable. He is trying to make them appear to be kind, but they're clearly shitty with an ulterior motive. Again, this character we're supposed to like is supposed to be the everyman, is supposed to be the good guy. He's behaving like a right shitbag, a manipulative piece of shit, actually.
There is definitely some of that in there, but I do think he's genuinely trying to win her back, basically.
Yeah, because he's going like, oh, okay, so you want me to go then? He's kind of like thinking, how can he actually, yes, manipulate that situation, but then he's got to take the risk to be able to see if that could go any further in that way, but then he does leave. You know, he does go, right, okay.
Yeah, he does leave.
So it's not happening tonight kind of thing. It's not like where he thinks it's going to be.
There is like other media where people are a lot worse. Like, is it Porky's, that early 80s film where they're basically just drilling holes to watch the girls in the shower and stuff? He's not doing anything like that.
No, he's not.
Some sitcoms would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottom would have done that.
He is reacting to the empathy part of it. Is he reacting to the fact that she's not fitting in well? She's not like getting involved. He's doing some really good things. He's ended up in a situation where he's actually like, oh, well, is the spark still there?
Yeah, it's kind, but there are clear ulterior motives. But you're right, and I think looking at something like Bottom, though, those two characters are fundamentally irredeemable.
Yeah.
Whereas I go back to this, Lister is supposed to be the good guy, the everyman.
Yeah, you're right.
But then Lister is besotted with Kachansky in general. That's his that's his perfection. Isn't it? That's his ultimate goal in everything that he does. He's in love with that woman and looking to do some crazy things. But at the same time, considering what we talked about last week, there's a line and there is like stuff that isn't ideal in a writing sense that shouldn't have really been written.
There's a worse thing that he nearly does later on in the episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So the power goes out. Now, we haven't really spoke about this with you, Colin, but the fact that these episodes were filmed without a studio audience, and then
Played back. Yeah.
It was played back to the people in the for an audience to look at and watch and then laugh at. I think in this mold, and it's this episode, I think really I don't think you could do this episode without it being like that, because of the kind of it's almost a bottle episode in some ways.
It's not almost a bottle episode. It is a bottle episode. It was designed to be a bottle episode all the way through. They were originally in place of this. It was going to be Identity Within. Was the episode that was going to be episode 4 of season 7, and that was too expensive and too difficult to do. Plus, with Chris Barry leaving, that also made it more difficult. With the fact that Kachansky was coming back, they thought we need something to establish her character, and the best way to establish a character is a bottle episode. Because there's no distractions. You know, thinking back to Marooned, that's Red Dwarf's best example of a bottle episode, and one of the best examples of a bottle episode ever.
Yeah, but I think the for this episode, I don't think it would, because of the way it's been written and designed. Marooned obviously
works as a play.
Yeah. Whereas this one's more of a kind of a character piece. But the reason why I brought it up on this particular moment is when the ship goes out, when the actual power goes down.
Yeah. That
you actually hear the deadly silence.
Yeah, which you wouldn't hear if there was an audience there.
And I think that works in that. And then there's some laughter track on it afterwards, but they're able to have that deadly silence, and it makes it effective in that way, if the sound design works that way. Yeah,
really good point.
Then comes to my, not necessarily quotable Red Dwarf, but my smeg up Red Dwarf in the caroming through space, because that is one of those smeg ups that I remember actually through the episodes, like sort of as in from a Series 7 point of view, that I just remember that being a smeg up.
I don't know the Series 7 and onwards smeg ups, because they weren't on the
me neither.
Smeg outs videos. They were extras on the DVDs, weren't they?
They were, yeah. So this one is like when he says, you've got absolutely zero at the helm, there's stuff like that goes on. And he can't say it, and there's like loads of cuts of it. So this is my first smeg up of Series 7 that I remember.
You're on your own with these smeg ups.
And we're nearly halfway through, and that's the first one.
Yeah.
But unlike Series 1 to 6, I think you're on your own with these smeg ups, because I never watched the smeg ups for 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't as into Red Dwarf, because essentially I was an A-level, then a university student when 7 and 8 came out.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, as I say, me being 17, I was in sixth form at that point. Millennium and this were the two shows I was watching. So around 7 and 8, I did watch. Unlike Colin, I actually did rewatch them and watch them again and again, and I do remember seeing them. And yes, I have issues with 7, but at the same time, I do remember them because I did have them as an option. So I might not have watched them as much, but I definitely watched them when they aired. And I think the fact that the DVDs came out, or it must have been DVD when I bought them, and they had the smeg up. So it was up to this day, really, up to recent history. Whenever I buy like a film or something like that, as soon as the first thing I went to was the outtakes.
Outtakes, yeah.
That's the first thing I went to. It was like, right, okay, Star Trek 09, right, let's see if there's any outtakes on it. Yeah, straight on it to it. And that's all Red Dwarf's fault. That is Red Dwarf's fault. So I think that's why I remember 7, because of that. And then they were actually on the DVD, the Smeg Ups or Smeg Outs DVD. They're on that.
Ah, I've got that then. I'll watch that at some point.
Yeah, I think that Series 7's actually as one of the options. You can choose like Smeg Ups, Smeg Outs, and then you can actually have it Smeg Outs with Series 7 on it as well.
Cool.
Let's move on to the ductwork though. They go into the ducts. They say that it's going to be 6 hours and stuff like that, and it says, and then Lister gets this claustrophobic feeling, which is referencing confidence and paranoia. I think there was when he was outside in the ship. There's also a mention in not a mention, but when Kat talks to Lister, which we'll get to, we'll talk about that in a minute, but just in general. He talks about the walls closing in. I think they're talking about the chimney and Meltdown.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're referencing, isn't it? I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he starts saying, well, that time when we had in that black tunnel where you could do this, and I was thinking, actually, they're standing up in a black tunnel. It's got to be Meltdown when they're in the lair.
Which is really weird because they're making these quite nichey, in-jokey references, yet they get so much actively wrong. I will never get over the time drive thing in Ticket to Ride. So they actively get things wrong. But they make some really deep references as well in Series 7. It's a weird-ass contradiction throughout the whole series.
I wonder if the things that they get wrong are things that Rob Grant came up with. And the things that they get right were Doug Naylor's.
Do you really think he'd be that petty?
Possibly. I'd hope he wouldn't be.
Interesting.
But it wouldn't entirely surprise me. They weren't, they at that point, they had properly fallen out, I think, hadn't they? So,
yeah,
he may want to retcon things that Rob had come up with that he didn't necessarily agree with at the time.
But what I do like about this moment is Craig Charles's acting. I think he does a phenomenal job of displaying that claustrophobic.
Like you said in the last episode and possibly in the previous ones before that, it is aiming more at a comedy drama in parts, and there is some really good dramatic acting.
I'd agree with that.
Like you've said, Colin, if we're going around in circles with this, almost like in a Ouroboros, the kind of the interplay that we get with Kachansky and Lister, where Kachansky's like taking him away from the feeling.
Yeah.
From a thematic point of view, it works, but we can discuss the actual comments that Kachansky's talking about and Lister's talking about. So.
Yeah. It's not aged well, has it?
Pretending to be gay to get into a girl's pants is utterly fucking repulsive.
Yes.
And the reality is...
He to be fair to Lister, he doesn't, but the thought is there for a second. But he doesn't.
Yeah. So, I actually know someone who did that. I thought he was a friend of mine. Obviously, we bonded because we were both LGBT, and he was using it as a way to get access to women.
Yeah.
And this was just a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and I was fucking repulsed, and I felt so betrayed as well. It's not okay.
What it reminded me of is there's a song by the Bloodhound Gang called I Wish I Was Queer So I Could Get Chicks, which is one of the most fucking homophobic, utterly... It's trying to be a fucking comedy song, and is just utterly fucking wretched and horrible.
Agree.
I hate the Bloodhound Gang, and that's one of the main reasons I hate them. Also, because their music's fucking terrible, is another major factor of that. But, yeah, anybody that thinks, You and Me, Baby Ain't Nothing But Mammal song's quite funny, fuck them. But, yeah, there's some horrible homophobic stereotypes in this particular section. You also there's a bit where the after Kachansky goes away, when she's revealed that no, her Dave isn't gay, she was just trying to take his mind off it, which worked, to be fair, for a minute. Cat comes back and he says, which is it's a brilliant line, ruined by one word which could have been changed, which is where he says, so how do you get to be claustrophobic? Were you born that way, or is it because you're kind of sissy? Which sissy can be taken as a homophobic slur.
Yeah.
He could have said, are you kind of chicken? Are you kind of a wuss? Are you kind of a scaredy cat? All three of those would have worked without having the horrible connotation of the one word in there ruining it. Which is a shame, because it's my favourite joke in the particular episode.
Yeah.
But it's ruined by having essentially a slur in it.
Yeah,
But
I think
at the time, I don't think I would have known that that was a homophobic slur. So it's possible that Doug Naylor didn't.
I think sissy is something that people are more aware of now, and were more aware of earlier than I was. For a lot of gay men, the term they were called at school is the one that they hate the most, the one that triggers them, for want of a better phrase. And for a very long time, I didn't like the term queer because that's what I got called at school. But I realised very recently, when I started using it to describe all the rainbow folk.
That sounds like pixies and stuff.
Well, you know what I mean? Everyone under the umbrella. And I just randomly used it, and it didn't hurt.
No.
I never meant to reclaim it, and I don't quite know how it happened. I don't know why. But I think because a lot of other queer people get comfort out of the word that used to hurt me. I don't have that. But for a lot of gay men, whatever you were called at school is the word that hurts the most. So I think maybe guys in their 50s would find the word sissy particularly unpleasant. But I think it had maybe softened in the 90s, whereas it wasn't the fashionable word to call a gay man, and it just meant wimpy. I don't like wimpy as a...
It's a horrible burger brand, isn't it? It's a horrible burger brand.
We both went to the same thing.
Fuck's sake. I'm saying I don't like it being assumed that you are wimpy because you're gay. I mean, I am, but that's not the fucking point.
There's a lot of gay men that could completely kick my head in. I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather nobody did. But
they're not going to kick your head in because you're not a cunt.
This is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole scene is full, and it's slightly less upsetting to me than the active homophobia of Rimmer to Ace.
Yeah.
Because
it might not be as deliberate in a weird way.
It doesn't seem like it's attacking, but it's demonstrating a mindset that is not open-minded enough to be accepting of it, which is where a lot of us fucking were.
Yeah. It's outdated, but I don't think it was actively, deliberately.
When I was at school, we used to describe stuff as, "Oh, it's a bit gay," thinking, rubbish. I'd never fucking dream of doing that these days, but I fucking did when I was a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If we're being fair to this scene, though, I mean, there's the bent bob aspect of it, where Kachansky's calling him out on it.
Yeah.
There's the Kachansky is calling him out, saying, "What? That's what you call him? Oh, it was affectionate," and that's what you call him. So there is an element of a layer of that in this episode about that's stereotypical to think about that. So there is a social commentary within the actual scene itself.
And you wonder whether it was weirdly and naively well-meaning, like the stuff in Friends that I've talked about 100 times. At the time, the queer characters in Friends were considered groundbreaking. They are now considered incredibly outdated.
Yeah.
So you wonder whether it was a similar vibe, an attempt to actually be kind to queer people.
Yeah. But slightly missing the mark.
Yeah.
Missing the mark by an absolute fuck ton.
Speaking of Friends, so I was watching again the social medias, and I found a picture where it's got Stranger Things on there, and there's a picture of Stranger Things, and there's a picture of Friends, and it's Winona Ryder, and it's saying, "Oh, this person in such and such is this person in Friends," and I'm going, for fuck's sake, it's Winona Ryder.
Yeah, she's quite well known.
It's come on, get with the program. You can't Winona Ryder is in Stranger Things. She's a well-known actress, and you're saying, "Oh, look at that! This is the person that appeared in Friends." Yeah, she appeared in Friends because she was Winona Ryder. It wasn't the fact that she was someone like Ryan Reynolds in the X-Files, who was nobody at the time.
Yeah, Jack
was
Black
in for 52 seconds. Jack Black was in X-Files. It's not like they were starting the career. That was Winona Ryder when she was well known before she did the stealing.
She'd already
thing.
been in Beetlejuice. She'd been in Heathers.
Yeah.
Before the stealing,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, would have been before then, wouldn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. What I liked about talking about the cat aspect. Oh, is it cramped in here? All that sort of stuff. It's like, oh my god, cat, what are you doing?
Yes.
But again, going to that comedy drama, he quickly changed, and I've never seen Cat act like this way before. Where he goes, "Well, why do you get it at all, though?" And he's actually really seriously asking that question.
He's using the wrong words to say it, but it is like he wants to understand.
Yeah, just the way he delivers it.
Yeah, and I think it fits though, because cats are naturally curious creatures, but it's not something they've really done with the cattiness of this particular cat before.
Yeah.
I think it's the way it's lying, because his cadence, well, not his cadence, his tone drops. It drops down to a serious kind of like, why do you get it at all, though? You never hear him there. He's always up high. You know, isn't he? So
I've just remembered another bit where, the cat says that really did make me laugh when he's talking about how he did get it in a minute, when Lister is explaining the story of how he got it.
When he found out the cashier number 4.
Yeah, and he's explaining that he's started basically having an affair with this woman, and the cat says, "I didn't understand that you could get claustrophobia that way."
Great gag.
Yeah.
What do you make? She was trying to get an all over tan. It's like any excuse. Just yeah, I'm sorry, boyfriend. I'm just trying to get an all over tan for my light bulb. What do you think to the rusty gate?
I do quite like that bit, because it's a classic sort of bait and switch joke, isn't it? Where she expects that he already knows something, so reveals something, and then Crichton is like, "No, he said he fixed a rusty gate once."
Yeah. So why is that funny? Well, as I said, the nights were long and dull.
I did like when they were, just before that, when he mentions that they used to play cheese slice snap.
I've missed that. And I actually even sort of using the Crichton stuff as well about the I'm going to file it under B for blackmail, and A for antidote, and S for so funny you'll make you sick.
Yeah,
I think so. I like the subcategories that he's put it under.
Yeah,
I thought was good. And the salty goodness does make me howl.
That might be the rudest joke Red Dwarf has ever had. Possibly.
Yeah.
It's more subtle than "let's get out there and twat it," but it's a similar level, I think.
No, this is something, just bearing in mind, I quickly looked at this before we came on air, and I was looking at production notes on Wikipedia. I don't know if you read them, but talking about sort of rudeness, or us being renowned for saying fuck and all that kind of thing. Right. But apparently in Series 7 bonus features, Craig Charles mentions one word that's been dubbed over in the scene where he tells the story about him developing claustrophobia. As it turns out, this word was left undubbed on the VHS release of Series 7, which is in fact fuck.
Amazing.
So I learned something today.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then we talked about the cottage and cheese. Again, going back to the comedy drama and some of the editing and stuff like this, with this moment where, you've got. I love the way that Lister turns round. When they're on the floor, and Lister's just lying there, he's kind of obviously trying to breathe, and then Cat starts to go, "What's that sound?" And the way Lister turns around and looks at the camera, and then the camera pulls in, and I think that's a good film studio, lesson 101, that if you want to make things personal, you pull into the frame of the person. So they pull in, ready for the roaring water sound, and I think it's really, really effective the way they've done that. And it goes back to that comedy drama thing of it's not like a sitcom static 3-camera, 2-camera setup. It's it's dynamic cameras, and this goes back to Series 7 as a whole, that they had the time and the development of for adding extra lighting in, for doing these kind of shots which you wouldn't normally get in a sitcom. It is trying to be that comedy drama. It's trying to do that kind of thing, and I think in that aspect it really does work. With just the way that it does pull in.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And me.
And me. And then, but it does do the classic, which we can talk about in general, just the fact about the watery noise and the windy noise. And it's like, it's the second one when he goes like, what's that sound? You're like, oh, God's sake, what's coming up next?
Well, now it's an interesting callback to obviously the smelling thing in the cockpit in Series 6. But as I did for Series 6, I did look up whether or not cats have better hearing than people. And they do. They have 4 to 5 times better hearing than people. And it's more accurate.
Well, my cat is totally lying to me then, isn't he? Because whenever I call him, he doesn't listen to me whatsoever. He's just
because he can hear you doesn't mean he's going to take any notice of you, Kurt. But what it is it's actually more accurate as well because they can swivel their ears like they do.
Yeah.
It means that they have a better perception of where the noise is coming from than people as well. So this scene is actually very, very good with its animal research about cats. So there you go. Also, just so you know, cats have got better hearing than dogs. Cats are better than dogs.
What about antelopes?
I don't know. I didn't look at what's got the best hearing. Oh, I did.
What about Komodo dragons?
Do you know what's got the best hearing? Right, I want you to guess this. Which animal has the best hearing?
We're going to say elephants again.
Okay, elephants. What about you,
that's
Colin?
a call back from like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
It's going to be his giraffe, innit?
I'm just trying to think.
It's not the obvious one, so it's not bats.
Is it a Shrek?
What's a Shrek?
It's a green
A
thing.
Shrek?
What, as in an
green ogre
ogre?
type dude. Yeah. He's got ears that sort of stick out a bit.
It's not aliens because they don't have any ears.
It's moths.
Moth?
I was going to say that.
It's actually moths, which is fucking bizarre. I didn't look
What
at
about
why.
butterflies?
The internet said specifically moths.
Are they warm clothing moths or are they...
I don't know. I didn't go into it.
Did you look at the species of moth? No, just moths
No,
in general?
moths.
Oh, okay.
Bats have got second best, according to the internet, but moths.
I was going to say bats. Bats, yeah, makes sense.
But if bats and moths have got good hearing, are they good at somersaults?
Yes,
Yes. I don't know.
probably.
Are they as good as Craig Charles and Danny John Jules doing somersaults?
That somersault is amazing.
Oh.
They get blown with the wind.
It's great.
It is. It's a beautiful bit of filming with it sped up.
Is it sped up? Is it really? Is it?
Is it fed up, isn't it?
I wouldn't have guessed that.
my biggest laugh of the episode by far. Again, when I'm watching these things on my own, it takes a lot to make me actually laugh out loud. But I howled at this. I am not having a good day. I just lost it. I howled with laughter.
And do you know what? As well, I'm surprised they actually did this. But Craig Charles can't have run in a duct. You know what I mean? It's like he legs it. He literally legs it, and I'm like, that wouldn't be allowed now. There's so many. He could have easily have banged his back. Quite easily.
Yeah.
But it was incredible. But yeah, I do the cat. Going back to the cat thing, I love repetitive humour. So the fact that you've got that watery thing first and then the windy thing, it's like, what's that noise? And they will do this again, Mark, in the future in the Dave Channel episodes as well.
Okay.
So you're aware. So there is like sort of things where they'll say something and they'll repeat it again, and and that kind of repetitive humour I really enjoy. I know it can. Some people don't like it, but I think it's really good, and especially the way it's done here, because listeners are already high tension, and the fact that Kat's just making these like just random things, saying, what is that sound? What is it? Kind of thing, and listeners going, I'm just not yet. Like you said, the culmination is I'm not having a good day. It's like
wonderful,
windy, hurricane-y kind of sound. What is it? Like smack cat in the mouth kind of sound. Which is great. But there's also some like, again, going to the story elements as well. Like they were saying it should be getting colder because all the stuff is hot, and it's actually getting hotter, and the meteors show, and then say about the sun being in the position. was great, and that obviously it then leads to the point of Crichton's reveal, which again, going down the neurotic route of Crichton, is just what again, every single episode now when he gets neurotic, I'm so scared.
Wonderful.
Just like absolutely amazing. Just to think that he's like, I didn't want you to have a bath, Mom.
Wonderful. So one thing I will say about Crichton here, there's one thing I do want to come back to in a bit, but his behaviour is just as bad as Lister's in Tika to Ride, if not worse. Because at least Lister was just selfish for something he wanted. Crichton's actively trying to sabotage his friend. It's really shitty friend behaviour.
Particularly when it potentially could get them all killed. And as I say, the neuroticness of it, it's like I think it is portraying the fact he can't help himself. He's just not. He's not of sound mind, is he? At those points, he can't.
True.
There's no like level of understanding or. I'm trying to think what the word would be, but there's the concept of what he should be doing compared to what he is actually doing. They're not equating. So, I think it is an interesting thing. I mean, obviously, he then talks about Gelf going around for dinner and things, so it emphasises what we saw earlier on. When he said when they do end up back in the thing, how on earth does Kat end up in that closet? Is a question I need to ask.
Yeah, that's
a bit of a slapstick, which is fine. But I did like the little touch that Kachansky's wearing Kat's jacket. Yeah, I thought that was that nice little touch. Because it's never shown. You can see it when she's on the catching the surf. Yeah. But then she's obviously still wearing it at the end, so it's never really shown that he actually gives her that jacket. Then towards the end of this episode, you've got Crichton then having the sheepish look when he's at the door and he said, "I just I excluded the doors," and he's like.
So I want to go back to Crichton and the surfing. It was very well established by Ace Rimmer when he stopped Crichton from going out in the snow that Crichton isn't completely waterproof. And it goes back again to references that are deep cuts, yet weirdly, there's nothing quite like Series 7 for this. It happens occasionally across all the other series, but Series 7 is a fucking weird-ass series when it comes to retcons, ignoring, forgetting. It just seems utterly bizarre that they can have these deep cuts and then ignore something like that.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like, does it feel to you like a soft reboot? Like, does it feel more of a reboot? I know we've talked about Series 3 being that kind of soft rebuild that we've seen throughout it. Yeah. But is Series 7, does that feel naturally more of a reboot than any other series?
I think it is, because it's definitely a whole new era of the show.
Yes.
It's almost like every 2 series so far have been a new era.
Yeah.
If you split 3, 4 from 5 and 6. Because 5 and 6, the quality was definitely higher. They got bigger budgets than 3 and 4. Although thematically 3, 4, 5 and 6, I suppose, sort of fit in one era, really.
Yeah, that's how I would have split it. 1 and 2.
Yeah.
3 to 6, and then 7 and 8, and then the Dave. Because I don't know enough about Dave, because I've not seen it.
Exactly, yeah. I am the same.
Yeah, I keep forgetting whether it's Carl or you that
it's me.
Seen it, so it's you. Yeah, I mean the Dave. It's basically it's 10. It's Red Dwarf 10. I would say Back to Earth is its own thing. Red Dwarf 10 onwards is kind of like it's more the continuation from 8. I would say, and just Back to Earth is kind of like it's a unique piece for me. That's just the way.
Okay.
I do it.
Uniquely fucking terrible.
Well, I think because Back to Earth is. Yes, I've got it on DVD. Yes, I've maybe watched it 2 or 3 times. But we'll talk about Back to Earth when we get there. But the fact about Back to Earth actually does a job to get us Red Dwarf 10, basically. Yeah. It's done its job. Yeah, I think... is there anything else you want to talk about Crichton and Kachansky? Anything like that at all? I will say that I absolutely adored Chloe Annette's little nose scrunch. I love a good nose scrunch. Elizabeth Olsen does that a lot. And
I knew that she was going to appear.
so I might have a side by side. Might have to put a side by side on the Twitter of the nose scrunches. But yeah, I thought that was cute.
I think for the first episode that doesn't have any Rimmer, this is quite strong. It is better than a lot of shite that you get on telly. It really is still incredibly good. I know we've been quite critical about it, but I really enjoyed this episode anyway. I think I enjoyed it more than a Roboros, for sure. And
I think overall I did, yeah.
Yeah, and taking out the stuff we didn't like.
This and episode 1 for me are so far the best episodes of the series, personally.
Yeah.
I think I liked Stoke Me a Clipper as much as this, but I know you didn't like that.
I love the cold open bit on Stoke Me a Clipper. It's great.
Kurtz does not, Colin.
I look forward to hearing Kurt disagreeing entirely with that. The alligator's hilarious. But anyway, that was an episode I wasn't on. Yeah. I do find it quite amusing that this is the second episode out of 4. So 50% of the episode so far that has ended in violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So stuff on the commentary that was worth noting is I now know explicitly how to pronounce Annette. It's not Annette, it's Annette, because that's what she said her name is pronounced as. It's Chloe Annette, not Chloe Annette.
Annette.
Chloe
so
Annette.
You've been saying it wrong all the way through. Fair enough.
I haven't.
And you failed to tell us this at the beginning.
I know, right? It's Chloe Annette, not Annette. And yeah, I think you touched on this, Colin. It was supposed to be a cat sex episode. The cat was supposed to lose his virginity. And Kurt, has that happened yet in the Dave stuff?
Some sexual things are in Dave, and regarding the cat, I cannot confirm or deny what they might be.
Okay.
There is some interesting things going on with the cat and sexuality. Put it that way.
Okay. And the other thing is that they had Chris Barry doing the commentary, even though he's not in the episode. And he was like, at the start, he was like, I haven't got much to say here. I've never fucking watched it. And his contribution was laughing at the telly show he was watching, basically.
Wasn't he on the commentary for Ouroboros as well? Because allegedly on that, he says, I thought Red Dwarf used to be a comedy at one point.
Yeah, but I think... So, Chloe Annette wasn't on the commentary for the first 2.
Right.
But why is Chris Barry on the commentary for this?
Because he's their mate and he's still there. He's angry.
Yeah. And the only other thing of note was that there is a really long, in-depth conversation about what Craig Charles's package looks like when he's in his long johns.
Oh, yeah, I did have that on my list, and I completely forgot to mention that. Yeah.
And I hadn't... Right, I don't know why, but I was obsessed with his... Well, I was obsessed with his nip at the start. I don't think I looked at his package until they did this commentary. I was like, oh, fucking hell, yeah.
Definitely. I even mentioned it to my other half. Like today, I was watching this. Have you seen what's going on there?
I was distracted by the gratuitous nip to the point that I didn't see the really quite packagey package. So...
I think I called it the cod piece when I said, have you seen the cod piece on that? That's what I actually said to Any final thoughts, chaps, on this episode then?
It's all right.
Problematic, but fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that sums it up.
I think that does. So, it's social media time. Where, Colin, can people find a giraffe like the one behind you?
I don't know. I believe what happened with that was my wife bought it for her nieces, and then when we had a daughter, they gave it back.
Brilliant.
Other than the giraffe, which people on the podcast can't hear, because it's a silent giraffe, you can find me on Twitter at MogwifeFearSatan. I've got 2 other podcasts, We Dig Music and Free With This Month's Issue. Free With This Month's Issue is a podcast where me and my co-host Ian, plus different guests every month, which has included both of these fine gentlemen I'm speaking to this evening on previous episodes. Basically, we listen to an old free CD from Kerrang, Metal Hammer, Q, Enemy, that sort of thing, and find the various horrors and delights within. And We Dig Music is me, Ian, and our friend Tracy picking a different year each month, choosing 10 songs each, and then fighting over which the best one is. You can find both of those by searching for them on a podcast app like We Dig Music or Free With This Month's Issue. They're both on our website, which is wedigpodcast.com as well.
Excellent. Mr. Adams, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitter personally at MarkAdamsHC. The HC stands for Humanist Celebrant rather than Hardcore, because that's my job. Someone pointed out recently that it could be considered. No, Humanist Celebrant's my job, but people someone pointed out that it could be considered hardcore. I'm like, I'm not very hardcore.
Have you ever had a Humanist Celebrant like hardcore wedding celebration?
No.
So there's people have tattoos of like a cross with NYHC for New York Hardcore.
Right.
I really hope that there are some Humanist Celebrants in New York that have got that tattoo as NY Humanist Celebrant, because that would amuse me greatly.
This has derailed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I do that.
I also only have one other podcast at the moment. I've had lots in the past and I've been mocked for it. And now Kurt's the one with the fucking million podcasts. But my other podcast that I'm doing at the moment is called Chucky Vision. We are 2 queer podcasters who talk about the Chucky and Child's Play franchise. So if you like horror and you like chat about LGBTQ stuff, Chucky Vision is probably the podcast for you. That's at Chucky Vision on Twitter. And obviously, just like Colin always says, search for it on whatever podcast app you're using to listen to Shipwrecked and Comatose.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at rmuldrake. It's RMULDRAKE. And you'll find out all what I'm doing on there. I'm on YouTube channels. I'm on podcasts all over the shop, as Mark has alluded to, whether that be Red Dwarf, X-Files, Millennium, Star Trek, Yellow Jackets, all kinds of things. So find me on rmuldrake and you can find out what I'm up to there, and with more things to come. So, yeah, that's the best place to find me. So thank you for listening to this episode of Shipwrecked and Comatose. Next week, we're going to have a new guest, and it's been a long time coming, but it's going to be Matt Latham, and the episode is going to be Blue. And he's been waiting a very long time for this, Mark.
He's so excited, and we've postponed the recordings like 2 or 3 times, and every time he's not been gracious about it. And and I feel no guilt because it's funny. So I'm looking forward to having like Dog with a Bone Matt talking about Blue.
It's going to be great. I think for us, as the podcasters, we enjoy doing this show. We enjoy, like, with Colin and Carl and to Matt. And
speak for yourself. I fucking hate it.
Okay, well, whatever. But Blue, because of just how much he goes on about doing this episode, I don't know what to expect, and I am looking forward to this one.
I genuinely think part of his motivation for joining the team was so he could talk about this one specific episode.
Yeah.
Man.
We might have to put the trailer in this episode.
Yeah.
His actual trailer in this episode.
Yeah.
Because that'll go to exactly what he's thinking.
If you're a fan of British comedy, particularly broadcast on the BBC, that's been going for a decade or 3, try Shipwrecked and Comatose, covering all of Red Dwarf, including those additional specials, heroes and their foes. Anything else, well, who knows? So find us on your podcast apps and be greeted by some friendly chaps and Mark's deep obsession with all cats. It's Shipwrecked and Comatose. We're not on Insta, it's Twitter's hard mode. Red Dwarf Pods are social. Both subscribe and enjoy us a load.
So yeah, But until next time, thank you for listening, and
Mature is not a fucking synonym for not being creepy.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network, which can be found online at wemadethispod.com or on Twitter at We Made This Pod.